I killed 17 innocent people 53 years ago, and tonight I'm going to confess to the only man who can understand why the letter in my jacket pocket feels heavier than my rifle ever did in the Mekong Delta. White paper, government. Seal, orders that turned my stomach then and still wake me screaming now. But I'm not the one who should be confessing. I'm the one who refused to pull the trigger. The American Legion Hall in suburban Virginia looks exactly like every other. One across the country. Faded flags, cheap paneling, and the lingering smell of cigarettes and regret. 5 old men sit around a folding table, our monthly gathering to remember what we'd rather forget. We call ourselves the White Fog Unit, though that name never appeared in any official records. "Danny's late," mutters Rodriguez, checking his watch. His hands shake more than they used to Parkinson's claiming another piece of him. "He'll be here," I say, though I'm not sure I want him to be. Not tonight. Not with what I'm carrying. Doc Thompson pours whiskey into paper cups, while Jenkins shuffles a deck of cards with practiced ease. We've been doing this for 15 years, ever since we all ended up living within 50 miles of each other. 5 survivors of an operation that officially never happened. The door creaks open, and Danny walks in. At 71, he still carries himself like the sergeant he was, though his hair has gone white, and his face bears the kind of lines that come from decades of public scrutiny. Senator Daniel Morrison, Republican from Ohio, decorated war hero, and according to the polls, a serious contender for the presidency. "Gentlemen," Danny says, settling into his usual chair. "Sorry I'm late. Committee hearing ran long." We exchange the usual pleasantries, catch up on grandchildren and medical appointments. But I can see something different in Danny's eyes tonight, a tension that wasn't there last month. He keeps glancing at me, as if he knows what I'm about to do. "Before we start," I say, pulling the envelope from my pocket, "there's something we need to discuss." The room goes quiet. Even Jenkins stops shuffling the cards. "I found this last week, going through my father's papers after the funeral." I place the envelope on the table. The government seal is still crisp, though the paper has yellowed with age. It's addressed to me, but I never received it. My father intercepted it in 1971. Rodriguez leans forward, squinting at the official letterhead. "What is it?" I open the envelope and remove the single sheet of paper inside. My hands are steadier than I expected as I begin to read aloud. Private. First Class Michael Chun, 1st Battalion, 9th Infantry Regiment. You are hereby ordered to report to Special Operations Command for classified assignment Operation White Fog, effective immediately. Mission parameters classified. Standard rules of engagement suspended for duration of operation. I pause, looking around the table. Thompson has gone pale. Jenkins won't meet my eyes. Rodriguez is staring at his whiskey like it holds answers. But Danny is watching me with the kind of cold calculation I remember from the jungle. That's not the important part, I continue, unfolding a second sheet. This is. The paper crackles as I read the attached orders, words that have haunted me since I first saw them 6 days ago. Target designation. Hamlet 47. Coordinates 1045 feet N. 10640 A. Civilian population estimated at 43 individuals. Intelligence indicates potential compromise of Operation Phoenix assets. All personnel in target zone to be considered hostile. Rules of engagement. Eliminate all witnesses. Leave no survivors. The silence stretches like a held breath. Finally, Thompson speaks, his voice barely a whisper. "Jesus Christ, Mike, you got the same orders we did." I figured as much. I fold the papers carefully. The question is, what did you do with yours? Rodriguez empties his cup in one swallow. We followed orders. What the hell else were we supposed to do? We were 19 years old, Jenkins adds, his voice defensive. fresh out of basic. They told us it was a military target. It wasn't a military target. My voice cuts through. Their rationalizations, like a knife. It was a village full of farmers and their families. Old men, women, children. You don't know that, Thompson says, but there's no conviction in his words. I reach into my other pocket and pull out a stack of photographs. Black and white, grainy, but clear enough. Bodies in civilian clothes. A woman clutching a baby. An old man who couldn't have been a threat to anyone. I hired a private investigator, I say, spreading the photos across the table. Took him 2 years, but he found a freelance photographer who was in the area. These were taken the day after Operation White Fog. Rodriguez pushes his chair back from the table. Where did you get these? Does it matter? I meet his eyes. What matters is what we did, what you did, what we were ordered to do, Danny says quietly. It's the first time he's spoken since I started reading, and his voice carries the authority of someone used to being obeyed. We were soldiers following legitimate military orders. Legitimate? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. When did murdering civilians become legitimate? When those civilians were harboring enemy combatants, Danny replies smoothly. When? Intelligence indicated they were providing aid and comfort to forces actively engaged in killing American soldiers. That's what they told us, Thompson agrees, nodding too eagerly. They said the village was a staging area for VC operations. I shake my head. I've read the declassified files. There was no intelligence, no enemy combatants. Operation White. Fog wasn't about military targets. It was about covering up the fact that we'd been running assassination squads through Phoenix. The room erupts. Rodriguez slams his fist on the table. Jenkins starts shouting about orders and duty. Thompson demands to know who I think I am to question their service. But Danny remains calm, watching me with those cold eyes. Even if that were true, he says when the noise dies down, what would you have us do? Confess to war crimes? Destroy our families, our reputations, our legacies? I'd have you tell the truth. The truth? Danny stands, straightening his suit jacket. The truth is that we served our country in an impossible war. The truth is that we made hard decisions in circumstances none of these armchair critics can imagine. The truth is that we came home and built good lives, raised families, contributed to society. The truth is that we murdered 17 innocent people, I say. The truth, Danny counters, is that war is hell, and sometimes good men have to do terrible things to protect their country. He's good at this turning atrocity into patriotism, making murder sound like sacrifice. I can see why he's been so successful in politics. Is that what you tell yourself when you vote on defense appropriations? I ask, when you shake hands. With Gold Star families? When you give speeches about American values? Danny's mask slips for just a moment, and I see something raw underneath guilt, maybe, or fear. But then it's back in place, the practiced smile of a career politician. I tell myself that I served my country with honor, he says, and I won't let anyone suggest otherwise. He heads for the door, but I'm not done yet. I know about the others, Danny. He stops, his hand on the doorknob. Cambodia, 1971. Laos, 1972. How many more villages were there? The silence is deafening. Rodriguez looks like he's going to be sick. Thompson is staring at the photographs with wide eyes. Jenkins has gone completely white, but Danny just turns around and smiles. You don't know anything, he says quietly. And if you think you do, I'd suggest you be very careful about what accusations you make. There's something in his voice, a threat wrapped in velvet, that makes my blood run cold. Or what? I ask. Or you might find yourself in a very uncomfortable position. Accusations of war crimes are serious business, Mike. They require evidence, credible witnesses. And unfortunately, The only people who could corroborate your story are sitting at this table. He looks around at the others, and I see understanding pass between them. A silent agreement, forged in shared guilt and mutual preservation. We stick together, Danny continues. We've kept each other's secrets for 50 years. That's not going to change now, but I'm not backing down. Not after seeing those photographs. Not after learning the truth about what we really did. What about the investigation? I ask, the journalist who's been asking questions about Phoenix operations? Danny's smile widens. Sarah Martinez? She had an unfortunate accident last month. Brake failure on I-95. Very tragic. The room spins. Sarah Martinez, the investigative reporter who'd been digging into classified Vietnam operations, died 3 weeks ago. I'd read about it in the Post. Single car accident, no witnesses. You didn't, I whisper. I didn't do anything, Danny says. But accidents happen. Especially to people who ask too many questions about things that are better left buried. Rodriguez stands up abruptly. I'm out of here. Sit down, Rod, Danny orders, and there's steel in his voice now. We're not done talking. The hell we're not. Rodriguez grabs his jacket. I didn't sign up for this. Killing civilians in Vietnam was bad enough. I'm not going to be part of murdering journalists in Virginia. He makes it 2 steps before Danny's voice stops him cold. Your grandson Derek is applying to West Point, isn't he? Rodriguez freezes. Excellent candidate, Danny continues conversationally. Good grades, strong athletic record. It would be a shame if something in his family background came to light during the background check. You son of a bitch. I'm a realist, Danny replies. We all have skin in this game, gentlemen. Families to protect. Reputations to maintain. I'm simply reminding you of what we stand to lose if this conversation ever leaves this room. He's got us, and he knows it. 50 years of building lives, raising families, becoming pillars of our communities, all of it balanced on the knife's edge of a secret that could destroy everything. But I can't let it end like this. What about the families? I ask, the people. We killed? Don't they deserve justice? Justice? Danny laughs. They've been dead for 50 years, Mike. Justice isn't going to bring them back. All it's going to do is destroy 5 American families and accomplish nothing. It might stop you from becoming president. The words hang in the air like smoke. Danny's political ambitions are no secret. He's been positioning himself for years. Building support, raising money. The White House is within his grasp. Is that what this is about? He asks. Politics? It's about preventing a war criminal from becoming commander-in-chief. Danny steps closer, and for a moment I see not the polished senator, but the 19-year-old soldier who could kill without hesitation. Let me tell you something about war criminals, he says quietly. They're the ones who lose. The winners get to write the history books, pin medals on their chests, and run for president. That's how the world works, Mike. Always has, always. Will? He straightens his tie and heads for the door again. Enjoy your evening, gentlemen. And remember, we never had this conversation. After he leaves, the 4 of us sit in stunned silence. The photographs of the dead stare up at us from the table, accusatory and final. What are we going to do? Thompson finally asks. What can we do? Jenkins replies. He's got us all by the balls. Rodriguez picks up one of the photographs. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, lying in the dirt with her eyes open to the sky. I dream about her sometimes, he says quietly. All of them, but especially her. We all do, I admit. Not Danny, Thompson says. I don't think Danny dreams about anything. We clean up in silence, putting away the whiskey and folding the chairs. I gather the photographs and the letter, evidence of crimes that will never see a courtroom. But as we're leaving, Rodriguez pulls me aside. You're not going to let this go, are you? I think about the question, about Sarah Martinez's brake failure, about Danny's cold smile and easy threats. I can't, I say finally. Those people deserved better than to die for nothing and be forgotten. Rodriguez nods, then count me in. Whatever you're planning, I'm with you. One by one, the others agree. Thompson, Jenkins even scared, shaking Jenkins who hasn't slept through the night in 30 years. We're old men with more regrets than years left, but maybe we can still do one thing right. Over the next 3 months, we become conspirators instead of accomplices. Rodriguez uses his contacts at the VA to track down other Phoenix veterans. Thompson, who worked in defense contracting, knows people who can authenticate documents. Jenkins, surprisingly, turns out to have kept meticulous records of everything: dates, locations, unit, assignments. And me? I become the point man, the one who reaches out to journalists, historians, human rights organizations. People who won't have brake failures or unfortunate accidents because they're too public, too connected, too visible to eliminate quietly. The story breaks on a Tuesday in October, 6 weeks before the election. The Washington Post runs it above. The Fold, presidential candidate linked to Vietnam War atrocities. Within hours, every major news outlet in the country is running with it. Danny's campaign goes into damage control mode immediately. They claim the documents are forgeries, the witnesses unreliable, the allegations politically motivated. Danny himself gives a stirring speech about the fog of war and the impossible choices faced by young soldiers in an impossible conflict. The evidence is overwhelming. Military records, authenticated documents, testimony from 4 Vietnam veterans with nothing to gain and everything to lose. Most damning of all are the photographs 43 bodies in a village that officially never existed, killed in an operation that was never authorized. The polls shift overnight. Danny's lead evaporates, his campaign collapses, his political career ends in disgrace. He withdraws from the race citing unfounded attacks on his military service and disappears from public life. 6 months later, I read in the paper that former Senator Daniel Morrison died of a heart attack at his home in Georgetown. The obituary calls him a decorated war hero whose later years were marked by controversy. I don't attend the funeral, but I do visit a small cemetery in Ohio where Danny's buried with full military honors. His gravestone lists his rank, his decorations, his years of service. There's no mention of Operation White, fog, or the 17 people who died because a 19-year-old soldier followed orders without question. Standing there in the rain, I realize something that chills me more than the weather. Danny never followed those orders at all. The letter I found in my father's papers wasn't meant for me. It was meant for him. He intercepted it, just like my father intercepted mine, but for different reasons. My father hid the letter to protect his son from becoming a killer. Danny's father hid it to protect his son from being caught, because Danny Morrison didn't need orders to murder civilians. He'd already started, and he never stopped. Operation White Fog wasn't his first war crime. It was just the one that made it official. Asterisk.